Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Final Fantasy Randomizer community presentation on Randomania. Today, a round 2 double anti-bingo tournament showdown between 10th seed JMan and 7th seed LordFizzlebeef. I'm RockSolid84, joined in the commentary booth by Shadowed Flames. Shadowed, how you doing today?
Well, for it being a Sunday in the middle of winter, you can't complain too much. Time to get nice and cozy and watch a little bit of double anti-bingo action.
Darn right, and it doesn't get any better than this. We've got two accomplished runners about to do a bingo showdown, and with some pretty similar party comps too. I noticed that LFB is going with the Nun in slot 2, and J-Man's going with the Red Mage. Which party do you prefer, Shadowed?
I'm still hesitant about running a 3-person comp, and I freely admit I'm a Red Mage mark by any means, so my preference is the bottom party. But given what we're seeing on the bingo card over on the right side of your screen, I can understand why LordFizzlebeef is taking the Nun.
Yeah, taking the Nun is going to give him access to that Take 1 Nun block that's there in column 3, row 4, and we'll open up row number 4 to LFB if he decides to go for that one. Keep in mind, with double anti-bingo rules, each runner has been assigned a row or column and then can complete one more of their choice. Daddy has dropped the gate and we've got about 10 seconds. What do you expect to see first, Shadowed?
Let's see. Probably a quick play to Corneria to check your level 1 magic as usual. And given how low the flags are, probably go right up to Temple of Fiends, take out Garland, get a key item or two out of the way for your experience boost, and we go from there.
Yeah, and Demon Frog making a great point in chat that we've actually got a lot of tiles lit up right from the get-go, as we see a bonanza of sweepers here at level 1 and Invis 2 at level 1 white magic.
Oh man, you're certainly not wanting for black magic this early in the seed. Fire 3, Ice 3, Fire 2. You certainly got your pick.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got Len the Cat asking in chat, how high are the bosses scaled? So with this particular flag set, we have got separate scaling. So the stats will be scaled from 50% to 200%, and the HP is clamped. It'll start at 100% and could go as high as 200%.
Yep, you kind of beat me to that because I was looking at the wrong tab for it. As expected, LordFizzlebeef first to go in the Topher, and we find a Withered Staff right off the bat.
Yeah, and that's actually a pretty good find with this particular bingo board because you can see that Successfully Confused Carry is there in column 4. So having access to the Confuse spell early on is something that LFB is definitely going to keep in the back pocket, just in case that starts to be something that he's looking for, especially because it's... oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was part of column 3, but it's not.
Nah, but column 3, you've already got 2 things lined up right for each other, because if you have to talk to 3 robots in Mirage and defeat Tiamat 1, you can take out 2 squares in the same gallop.
Yeah, that's definitely some next level thinking. Look at this, we've got a ship and a slab at the King and the Princess. J-Man did a little bit of item shopping beforehand, and so is a step or 2 behind LFB. But now we're going to see LFB do the item shopping and probably hop in that ship for Provoke, I would think. Oh, he sells the Wizard Staff right away.
I can't say that I blame him on this. If you take a look at his card, if he has to do row 5, it makes sense to either do column 2 or column 3, because he's already got 3/5 of each of those done. Carry Confusing is in column 4, and that would kind of be out of the way for him.
Yeah, you're making some good points there. Having that early money is probably worth more than having the option to do column 4, since there are so many tiles lit up already. But oh, look at this. The Sea Hags have Blizzard, so we're going to be doing a little bit of save scumming to avoid that in the early game here.
Well, that certainly puts a damper on maybe doing row 2 as your second line.
Yeah, let's kill 3 different Sea Hags. I mean, it's something you can always do later on once you've got a little bit more protective gear and whatnot. LFB is taking on the Pirates now, so we're about to see that item and just a little bit of housekeeping here. We do have the timer finally started now, and it looks like it's caught up at about 3 minutes and 13 seconds. That seems about right for this level of progress.
Yeah, well, it's early on a Sunday. Most people like to relax a little bit, and well, you can always blame it on technical gremlins, as Fizzle picks up the tail from Vicky.
Yeah, so that's one that is not going to be super helpful for this party, at least not early on. They've already got some pretty good sweepers, and they're going to want to hold off on promoting the black belt as long as possible. Pro rings are available at Provoca for about 10k, as are both houses and tents. So this is an area that we might be coming back for some stocking up on later when we've got a bit more money.
Indeed, and I see Temper at level 2 here in Provoca, so that'll be a good pickup for both black mages to throw on the black belt. Quad X that might have some capability and some utility down the road, but maybe not nearly as much as I'd like.
Yeah, exactly. Quad X can come in handy. Sometimes it's good for grinding. Demon Frog, restreamer, making a good point in chat that promote as soon as possible is on the board. So the tail is actually a liability for them, especially because of where it is. I mean, that's in row 2, and that row's almost completely done. So it's going to be one that the runners are probably going to want to keep open as an option.
That's true. I mean, it's certainly a play. It's probably one that I wouldn't make personally, but that's why I'm sitting in the booth and I'm not actually playing this thing.
Yep. So Danny putting the hand up in chat and claiming responsibility for the timer. That's okay. Just like you said, Shadow, this is a Sunday run. But let's not think that the runners are going to be going to sleep on the job here, because they're actually in round 2 of the double anti-bingo tournament, which means that they've already had to defeat somebody to get here. So these are runners who are going to be showing us their A game for sure as LFB leaves the inner C.
Right. Yeah. English is apparently hard for me this morning, folks. I apologize. The later you go in this tournament, the tougher the rounds are going to be, so it's only going to get more interesting from here as we go.
Yep, and Danny pointing out that the timer is accurate as we suspected because she was able to pick it up off her restream, so that's some heads up thinking. A shout out to Danny doing the tracking and keeping us organized here as we see LFB about to go to Crescent, and JMan I think is a step or two behind. I wonder if JMan's going to make the same play or try something a little different.
I know the ingrained reaction for most players is to go right to Elflin to see what level 3 and 4 have, and then follow it up with Marsh, but Marsh is not incentivized in this flag set, so it's hard to say which is going to be the correct play here, as we see Cake and Brack both at level 6 in Crescent.
Yeah, and Brack is relevant, Cake is relevant because we do have the defeat Lich with Quake tile there in column 1, which JMan will have to complete.
Yes, indeed. For those of you who may be wondering why we have poker chips surrounding a bingo board, let's go ahead and explain that real quick. As mentioned in the double anti-bingo, each player must complete 2 rows, one of their choice and one that their opponent has chosen for them. In this case, JMan has to complete column 1, signified by the green chip above the column 1. And LordFizzlebeef has to complete row 5, signified by the red poker chip.
Yeah, exactly. So once they've done that, they'll be able to pick any line they want to complete. JMan, finding Nuke at level 4, doesn't have enough money to buy it right now, but that's some good information. And we've also got 10k gold bracelets for sale at Elflin. So another town that you're going to want to come back to. It looks like the Inner Sea's got some of that shopping trip locations earmarked on it.
Oh yeah, gold bracelets for 10k, pro rings plus 5 for 10k. Pro rings will certainly be a nice cover until or if you get a ribbon.
Yeah, and here's where confidence may start to come into play. JMan has held on to the wizard staff instead of selling it. If JMan had sold that wizard staff, could have bought Nuke already and wouldn't have to come back here for a while. So you do have access to Elflin from the external dock, the one that's not on the inner sea. And oftentimes you will see a runner bypass it and then come back and pick up those key spells later. But I wonder if that's going to end up being a difference maker, not having access to nuke early on.
That's entirely possible. I would think it depends on where the routing takes him and what sort of shenanigans some of the enemies may have coming in that'll come into play.
Yeah, it definitely will. So take a look at this. We've got Warp at Melmond, along with Lit 3. Lit 3 is less important now, especially now that we know where Nuke is. But having access to Warp, I think it's in its vanilla spot, though, so we'd have to promote in order to use it.
Warp at Melmond, is this even randomized?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a bit of a shot in the pants to see that one there and not be able to pick it up. JMan thinks about going to Earth Cave, but then decides that it's better off to head on over to Elfland and sort of tag along onto LFB's heels. I feel like LFB is ahead in terms of exploration. Doesn't know about Nuke, though.
Yeah, I mean, Fizzle's about to find the news about Nuke in about 2 seconds here, and there it is. He's going to get that on both of his Black Mages, and I think what lead he has might have just gotten extended a little.
Yeah, exactly. And there's exactly what we're talking about. Has all the money needed to buy Nuke right away and does not going to have to come back here. It's going to be able to pick up any types of items. Even has enough money for a gold bracelet. Oh, not quite enough for a gold bracelet. But yeah, I mean, from here, you're starting to think that the number of locations are starting to narrow. LFB doesn't have a lot of options without the canoe.
Right, because you don't have the Oxio yet, so Sea Shrine is out, Waterfall is out, Mirage is out because you don't have the Chime yet. So really, you're down to Marsh Cave, and Marsh and Earth, and that's about it.
Well, I'm going to check the incentives because I think we established that Marsh Cave is not incentivized. It is not.
I tried to correct myself.
We have Corneria locked, though.
Ah, right. Yeah, so Corneria Lock and Earth. So, of the two, probably the castle was my pick, because you don't have to deal with any enemies on the way.
Yeah, and that looks like exactly what LFB is doing. Sarah-san in chat just pointing out that the lamp spell is actually being useful for once because we have a tile in here that talks about successfully curing the status ailment in battle with might magic. So a rare use of the meme spell.
If it's me personally, I would still forego the meme spell and wait on pure.
Oh, does that count if you use... Oh, I suppose the spell pure would work.
Yeah. I find that you're more likely to get poisoned in personal experience than you are to be left in the dark.
That's a good point.
So Fizzlebeef finds the ruby in the castle, so that opens up the western half of the Melman continent now for 2 more key items in Titans and Sarda.
Yeah, I really like Fizzle's routing right now because that's 2 more key items checked. Now, we're hoping that they're not Canoe and Floater because it'll mean that it'll have to promote. But that's 2 more key items checked, and then you could go straight into Earth, check your trap tiles, as Sarah-san is pointing out in chat, and then maybe even get the item too because, well, it's depending on whether or not you want to get in the air. It would be really good to have that grind done before you get forced to promote.
Indeed, and that's definitely something to keep in the back of your head. I'm not certain on the rule though, where if it's on the card, do you have to promote even if you're not going for that row, or can you just forego the square altogether and play as you normally would?
You're allowed to forgo the square if you want. The thing is, it just looks like it's a high value square because of how close it is to having row 2 completely lit up.
Which is fair. That makes sense. We find a crown in Titans, and Fizzlebeef about to check Sarda, along with all of his furniture.
Just doing a little bit of a once-over as the old man hands over his bottle.
Must say, I have never seen that square before. Inspect all of Sardis furniture. So there you go. There's my one thing learned for the day.
Yeah, so that's one that LFB was obligated to do. LFB does have Bane, so we'll be able to defeat Tiamat with Bane, but we'll need access to Sky to do it. Defeating Kraken 1 is also in there, so it's going to be obligated to go to the Sea Shrine. And kill 3 different lizards. I don't even know what that means. Is that the Soria, the Agama, and whatever the third one of those is?
I believe that would be the iguana, but yes.
Okay, right. Iguana's pretty rare, isn't it? I think there's a giant iguana tile and a straight-up iguana tile in the overworld somewhere.
Yeah, the straight-up iguana tile was over by Provoker, if memory serves. I've seen that used in the single-segment speedrun.
Right, yeah, I think it's pretty rare in vanilla, but you never know with Randomizer, as JMan heads to the closet and picks up his, I think that's the Ruby, right.
And now LordFizzlebeef doing pretty much the expected play, going into Earth. Let's see what the trap tiles give us.
Okay, so, Mux with Toxic, wiping the party out. That's gonna be, it's a good thing that we don't have Marsh incentivized, because they can cause you a problem with that.
Yeah, that pretty much would throw me completely off of exploring the Hall of Giants if you have to go through those twice to get in and out.
Yeah, and they're not going to have Warp until they promote. Exit's not on the table at all for LFB, and probably not for JMan either, as I believe we've seen all of those early white spells. Yes, Danny has noted that Exit is at level 5 in slot 2, which I think is out of reach for now.
I'm bringing up my thing to double check, and yes, 5-2 is Red Wizard learnable, so promotion locked.
Okay, so LFB continuing, we can actually see one of those trap tiles here on this floor, but it looks like LFB is just continuing. It might be the same one that LFB already checked.
I would imagine he knows the map better than I do at this point, so I'm inclined to agree with you on that assumption.
Yeah, so the Earth trap tile, I think, is in the bottom on the first floor, and then you encounter it several times throughout the rest of Earth. These are some pretty nasty looking green ogres with cremate, but LFB does make it through. Without Warp, this is going to be a bit risky. We could see a time loss here if LFB gets unlucky.
Especially if this ends up being something that isn't immediately needed, which I'm not certain what you could find in here where it would be that much of a time loss if it's not anything you need.
I think it has to be the canoe. We've seen every location that doesn't involve any kind of progression, other than we may not have seen the crown check yet, and I believe we do have that.
Right. I'm going to put my money on Fetch Quest leading the canoe.
And it looks like you're right as we pick up an Oxyale. We may have Northern Docks, though. I'm just going to check for that.
Yes, we do have Northern Docks and the Ryokan Desert Dock. Both are activated.
Okay, so that's as Demon Frog howls in despair in chat. That's not good, because it does mean that the canoe could be on the northern continent somewhere.
Yep, that's entirely possible, and if it is, that's going to be a lot of traveling back and forth.
Can you imagine, some kind of like adamant in sea leading to the canoe, leading to waterfall cave floater? Like there's some pretty trolly chains that we could start setting up right now.
Well, except for the whole starting in sea, the sea shrine is not incentivized in this set.
Yeah, okay, so that's a good point. In chat, asking about the shop item, it could be an on-rack, and it could also be at the caravan. So that northern continent's starting to look like it could be vital to this progression.
Right now, I think that would be the trolley plays to have, say, the canoe over in, not even a canoe, say the TNT and on-rack, which then leads to the canoe, which then leads to the waterfall and floater.
Oh yeah, we're definitely stacking up some commentary curse anti-brownie points here, Shadowed.
Hey, sometimes you gotta be a heel. What can I say?
Yep. So JMan picks up the adamant. Now Demon Frog has pointed out, dropping some knowledge on us, that the canoe can't be found in the shop. I didn't know that, although now that it's mentioned, I can't say that I've ever seen it there.
Well, we'll mark that up to 2 more things that I've learned today. We're starting to progress at a pretty good rate here.
Yeah, always an educational time at the Final Fantasy Randomizer showdowns. So we're about to see some trap tile checks here from JMan and find some ghosts that are unrunnable, and he's got fire, so this could be the way for JMan to get those levels and stop worrying about finding the floater.
Well, as long as you can get turn order, because ghosts hit hard and they seem to not give a care about armor. So if you can get your first turn in and wipe them out, you're good. Otherwise, you're in for a bit of a beating.
Yeah, that's true, but I like it. At least here you could maybe pick up a few trolls, go out tent, come back. Yeah, maybe you wipe once or twice, but it won't take too long to take that fight, I don't know, 3 times, get up to level 20. But JMan is deciding not to and moving on.
Well, I can't say that I blame them. There's certainly going to be better trap tiles somewhere around.
Yes, but you could get the floater and have to be. Oh well, I guess you're not obligated to promote if you don't care about that tile. I keep forgetting that it's not necessarily something you have to do.
Meanwhile, J-Man has automatically won the seed. He kills her for a dwarf, goes for the lazy dwarves, and gets a crystal for his trouble.
Yeah, we're just rounding the inner C. What is it going to be at the end of this chain? As JMan picks up an Opal +3 bracelet and a Power Gauntlet +4. Of course, we can't equip the Power Gauntlet, but that's nice to have as a way to buff up our offense.
The only downside is if you're going for row 2. At 3rd column, row 2, column 3, no caster items.
Yeah, so this is where bingo strategy comes into play, and I have to confess I'm not very good at this. But in a situation like this, where you've got promote as soon as possible threatening you on the board, and you've got use no caster items and equip no swords all there, do you maybe say I'm going to just forget about this one and go for a different line?
That's what I would do. I mean, my issue is if I'm LordFizzlebeef looking at this layout, what's the lesser of 2 evils? Dealing with promoting no caster items, no swords, or going no caster items and the 2 checks in Mirage and Sky? Or do I just forego all of it and find something completely new?
Yeah, well, Darren and Demon Frolic in chat are just kind of batting that back and forth right now, and I'm with them. It's only 1 trip to Sky to light up everything in column 3, so I think that's what I would do in that case.
Oh, there's our canoe. Matoya had it all along.
Yep, so we've got the canoe now, and we've got the tail, but we don't have the floater. So as soon as we see the floater, they're going to have to promote. If they want that tile.
If this seed is rolled anything like some of the other seeds I've tracked in this tournament, Floater's going to be at the Caravan. That's going to be my guess.
Okay, you heard it here first. Floater at Caravan. As JMan jumps back in the ship, his light warriors are perilously low on health. Maybe he wants some of them to take a nap.
It's entirely possible, or he could just hope that he can get back to Canaria in time, which looks like that's what he's trying to do, so he can hit the inn.
Yeah, the issue may be that there were no tents. But I would think that JMan should have access to some healing at this point in the game.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain he has some sort of thing in there. It's just risk versus reward, I'd imagine.
Okay, so LFB picking up gold rings on all 3 of his light warriors, +2. That's some solid defense. At level 14, really all LFB needs at this point is a good grind and to finish lighting up tiles. I mean, with a black belt and 2 black mages, you don't need a whole lot of gear.
Right. You just need to find 1 decent grind tile and just make certain that your black belt stays alive long enough to get the extra health that he needs.
Yeah. So let's take a second here. If LFB wants to go to Sky, okay, the problem here is that we don't have the chime or the cube yet. Haven't even seen them. So that's an issue for LFB if LFB's looking at that column 3 because, well, right now it's almost like you could stop checking items. If there's other tiles you could get, you could just light them up and get your grind done and go.
Well, except for the fact that he still needs the cube and chime for his required row over on the far right. So I agree with you. The question is, what do you do first? Do you try for your grind or do you keep exploring?
Okay, well, it looks like LFB is continuing to explore. That's risky because you run into the potential of having to promote too early, but then again, that doesn't matter to LFB because we know which lines that he's going for. So yeah, that makes sense. Just get your items and grind later.
And having taken another look, let me throw out something that might be intriguing as a strategy for JMan. Take a look at column 5. Promote as soon as possible, and immediately underneath of it, visit Bahamut. You could get away with 2 squares in one go there, and then all you've got to do is kill Tiamat with Bane.
Yes, that's true. I don't like that use only cursed armor tile though. With a black belt, it's a good thing, but the mages are going to basically have nothing because we've seen both gold and opal bracelets and they're both positive. So there's not going to really be any absorb on those mages.
They're black mages. They don't usually have much absorb anyway by the end of the game unless you get lucky and find the opal bracelet.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we did see pro rings already, and I'm not sure if they rolled up or down.
Pro rings rolled +5, 10k, and Provoca.
So those are off the table too.
Yeah, now you have to hope Ribbon rolls minus.
Yeah, if we even see one. I feel like these runners are doing a pretty good job at taking the seed apart pretty quickly.
Yes, indeed. I mean, if you get a black belt up to 42, who needs a ribbon?
Exactly. So LFB turns in the crystal, gets the canoe, well in behind JMan on that particular landmark. And where do you think we're going to see LFB go now? Do you think in Ordeals or the sea and waterfall combo?
I had completely forgotten Ordeals was a viable play. I would actually go there next because that's probably quicker to get to than going through Waterfall in Sea Shrine, even though Sea is not incentivized.
Yeah, so I think it's what I would do too, but it's not what LFB is doing. Chat pointing out that it looks like he's going for Volcano and Ice.
Well, Ice would have been my second choice, but I can't fault him either way here. And chat's also pointing out there was a cloth -5, so there's your cursed armor if you really need to use it.
Oh yes, handy one absorb. That's gonna do so much work for us as JMan picks up a light axe in the Volcano Treasury.
Well, I would make a joke about a lead apron, but that actually probably has a little bit more absorb.
Yeah, so, okay, JMan's in Volcano already. LFB's doing some shopping, it looks like, in Crescent, but probably about to head there next. LFB's got the Oxy Ale, and other than that, they've all got pretty much the same items. Who do you put ahead?
Ooh, coin flip, honestly, at this point. I think it's just going to come down to one lucky break to determine who gets the advantage here. Might end up being who finds the floater first.
Yeah, of course, the other thing is, I think from a tile perspective, LFB is solidly ahead because JMan's got the entire column 1, still hasn't lit any of those tiles up yet, though arguably will have an easier time with row 2.
Indeed, and most of the stuff in column 1 is going to take a little bit to get to. It's going to take a little bit of time to get down to Kraken 1. It's going to take a little bit of time to get down to Lich, because you still need to find a rod for that. Going to take a little bit of time to find 3 different Sayhags. Probably, again, going into Sea Shrine to do it. And the only one that's really accessible at the moment is the Save at North Waterfall.
Yep, so look at that. Some good news for JMan, as we see the ribbon has not been... Well, actually, no, because it's not cursed. So that's not an option if we want to keep that tile on the board.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to be good news.
For Fizzle.
Right. So, question for you. If you're, at this point, if you find that a ribbon comes up neutral and you've only been using cursed armor, do you abort that and start looking for an alternate row, or just try to power through it?
With these party compositions, I don't think the ribbon is that much of a big deal. We're going to have our black belt up with some pretty solid MDef anyways at this rate. We still haven't found the floater, as JMan finds the perfect grind. So this is basically your ribbon built onto your black belt right here. It would be nice to be able to put a ribbon on that red mage for JMan, but I don't believe we've seen a good life spell. I'm just going back. Life 2 is at level 5. And it's in slot number 2, which is Red Wizard learnable. So I don't know, but I don't think the ribbon's worth it.
Right, and Life 1 is at level 2, so that's Red Mage learnable right off the bat. I can understand your point.
Yep, so JMan is going to punch some eyes out. It looks like the other trap in here was not anything to be particularly concerned about as LFB catches up. Wow, are they ever close together? Do you think they both take a grind here or maybe come back?
Depending on how quick they're able to get that black belt buffed up, I say both of them go for a grind here, and we now have Mirage access.
Yeah, LordFizzlebeef has got to be really happy to see that. Basically, you've got your perfect grind here, and you've got half of access to Sky, which LFB really wants. Pretty much couldn't ask for anything better than this, other than to find, well, I guess the cube at Ice Cave would be the icing on the cake.
Indeed. And judging from this now, I actually have to give LordFizzlebeef a slight advantage, and that's just because of his party comp. He's going to get that black belt online a little bit quicker with splitting the experience among 3 members instead of 4.
Yeah, the 3-man party composition definitely does have advantages, and that's the 3-eye grind is so good that you don't need to knock them down in order to get up to a decent level. I don't know if we're going all the way to 40 with 5,000 experience per pop, but even at level 32, that black belt's already pretty good.
Right, if I'm in that position, I'm going to 32, because with these scalings, I don't think 42's necessary, and it's also going to be a little bit more time than I'd be willing to spend, even though at 42 you're basically invincible, it seems like.
Yeah, well, it looks like LFB is swinging for the fences here as he puts his 2 black mages up and is going to try and get the eyes to knock them down. The thing is, eyes can take an awfully long time to kill, even unarmored mages. It might be necessary to pop out and use that lava, but let's see how much damage they do now that the gold bracelets have been taken off.
I think I saw 30-something there, so it might not be too bad. It just might take a little bit.
Yep, so I guess get your eye facts out in chat as we've got simultaneous 3-eye grinds. They're both going for big levels and are just going to wipe carry out after that. I mean, barring some kind of disaster, which we don't want to put that on them. That's what we expect to see. Likely, LordFizzlebeef will head to ice after that, and JMan, I should think, would do the same. Now that they don't have the floater, it's the closest incentive item.
Right, and at this point, once you get your grind done, that will reopen promote as soon as possible if you want to go that route. So I can understand that happening.
Right, so LordFizzlebeef does start using some sweepers on the eyes. My thinking here is maybe LordFizzlebeef wants level 26, just in case Fast rolls at level 8. But honestly, I'm not really sure why LFB isn't prioritizing getting those black mages down. JMan seems to be doing a better job of that.
Well, I see 27s now for Fizzlebeef across the board, so his level 8 stuff should be readily available. So now we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and Canuck making the point in chat that at level 42, we don't really need fast anyways. So it's probably just a matter of getting the fights done as quickly as possible, since we don't know how long it will take for the eyes to knock the black mages down.
Right, and Ice 3 has been generally enough or close to it to just take out an eye on its own. So this could be, just as you mentioned, a simple matter of speed, as J-Man has gone down to just a single black belt now.
Yeah, and that's actually a pretty big problem for J-Man, potentially, because J-Man is obligated to defeat Glitch with Quake. Now, we do have a Wizard Staff. I believe J-Man still has that. So maybe the plan is to go in and just use the Wizard Staff, or maybe J-Man's forgotten. I hope that's not the case.
Well, the Wizard Staff is just a confused carry. I don't see that being something that he absolutely needs to do, and there's nothing in column 1 that means anything that he can just blow off just by going in and flicking 2 fingers in Carrie's nose and taking her head off.
Oh, my mistake. I got mixed up there, and I thought that they were near Lich. So you're absolutely right. That's not as big of a deal as I thought it was. And just to answer the question in chat here, Guelph35 asking about the red chip. The red chip is indicating that LFB on the top left needs to complete row 5. The green chip indicates that J-Man on the bottom left needs to complete column 1.
Oh, J-Man has hit the magical 32 mark, and he's still going. He might be looking for 42 just to eliminate any doubt whatsoever.
Yeah, and I definitely get that. If you've gone all the way down to one party member and you're at the 3i grind, you're getting 23,000 experience per fight. Why not go to 42? I'd do it.
Yeah, especially if black belts had rolled with bonus to hit, and you could have gotten even more by getting the 42. Fable 12 hit black belts? Oh, I wish.
Yeah, are you seeing what's going on here on the top left? This does not look good.
This is a bunch of fish just giving Lord Fizzlebeef the business.
Yeah, these Caribs have fire too, and they also have sleep. And I mean, probably we're going to see LFB wake up and squeak out of this, but I don't like what I'm seeing right now.
I've seen slow, I've seen mute, I've seen dark, I've seen hold. Where's the ribbon when you really need it?
Okay, so we've got the black belt that stood up. We're going to try to run. Black belt's not very good at this, but it would take far too long to punch these fish down. So let's hope this run gets off.
Oh, there we go. I was about to say, if the second run didn't do it, that would be the point where I just throw my hands up and say, all right, now y'all have asked for it.
Yeah, so Lord Fizzlebeef squeaks out of that one, takes a sigh of relief and heads on to carry. J-Man now healing up. It looks like we're at level 42, still going. Guess we're going to go all the way to 50.
Well, given that the black belt rolled Black Mage Vitality as a Malus in this seed, I don't blame him. Get the extra HP while you can.
Yeah, I was wondering why the HP was only at 700 there, so that'll explain. LFB looking to pick up another fight outside of carry. I'm not sure what he's looking for. Maybe one of the lizards as the Agama shows up for him.
Or would you call that a commentator's blessing?
I hope so. I've done enough cursing for my time.
And I looked away from the screen for 3 seconds and I didn't even see carry, so there you go.
Yeah, a little bit of domestic violence in the bottom of Volcano there. That did not last long. Lord Fizzlebeef is continuing on, probably to Ice Cave, as he sees the Carib again. I hope that you dropped a tent.
Well, he certainly did afterwards, just to make certain.
Yeah, and it looks like LFB wants to pick up his Light Warriors before he goes to Ice. That makes sense, especially with Warp.
Exactly. Make certain that you get your sweepers up so that way anything that comes up that's nasty, you can drop a lot quicker.
Right, so JMan, though, is actually going straight on, even though there's just a black belt up. This is an interesting play. I guess he's confident enough in that black belt that he's going to be able to just walk through and not get 3 of 256 by anything.
That's what it sounds like to me, but I still question whether 3 and 256 is an accurate number as many times as I've seen that come through.
Yeah, it's one of those things that seems to happen more often than you would like, as LFB catches some more grief from Caribs on the way up. But I think that I like the safety behind LFB's choice. With JMan, he's probably going to be fine, but it's a risk, and I don't think it's a risk you really need to take.
Right. Trying to mitigate your risks is a key factor here, and I fully agree. I'm not certain I like this play from JMan, but again, that's why I'm in the booth and I'm not actually playing this thing, because I'd approach this a completely different way.
Yep, fair enough. Me too. So JMan is about to check a trap tile up here next to the ice box. Now I forget, do we have the shuffle incentive flag on so that it could be anywhere?
We do not.
Okay, so I guess that was more about... I honestly don't know why JMan would have checked that, because at this point he's already got his black belt leveled all the way up and doesn't really need much in the way of gear. I think he's already found one ribbon.
It could be for information, for the lizards possibly, or some other square.
Oh, that's a good point. We do have a few squares like that lizard ones that depend on 3 different sea hags as well. Could be one that JMan is looking for, as it's right there on column 2. Rotate, sorry.
With shuffle trap tiles, you could run into a Wizard Hag group in the middle of Ice Cave, which doesn't seem very appropriate, but it can happen.
Yep. So JMan is about to give us a look at this incentive item. I'm thinking vanilla floater.
Herb the floater, maybe? I don't know. There's not really much else that I can think of that would be blocking.
Yeah, it could be the cube, as Sarah Sand points out in chat. LFB would like that. And it is in fact the loot, which has been renamed Ocarina for this seed.
I'd be careful with that. I think somebody would call copyright infringement, especially if they're wearing a green tunic.
Yeah, well, we have seen some little Mario Brothers sprites and different things running around sometimes in these randomizer seeds. So, yeah, I think that's one of those things that you just you play with the fire until you get burnt.
Something, insert a joke about a fire flower, something.
Right on. So JMan taking the Ocarina out of Ice Cave and heading on, starting to make your floater at Caravan look more like a possibility.
Yep. I mean, I'm not going to discount the possibility that it's a fetch quest at the Caravan that leads to the floater, but I'm still thinking it's straight up going to be that. So, in this situation, with the information we have, what's your play at this point?
Well, let's take a second and go back over what we know, as we've got these fantastic notes here from Danny to help us out. So the king had the ship, Sarah had the slab, which I'm not sure if they've translated yet. Bicky has the tail, Sage has the key. We used the key to check Corneria Lock, found the ruby. The ruby gave us the Titan check, which was the crown. Zarda had the bottle, Earth had Oxyale, Assos had adamant. We checked that though. It gave us TNT. Narek gave us the crystal, which we checked to get our canoe. Volcano was chime. Ice was loot. So we're looking for the cube. We're looking for the floater. And we haven't seen the vendor item, which there's 2 checks right there next to each other at C. I think that's where I'm going next.
Which is probably the best play. I was sitting here still debating, do I go through the hassle that is the warp maze and ordeals first, or check the 2 important items? And I think I find Merit in your play a little bit better than I would in mine.
Yeah, JMan is taking an interesting route here. It looks like he's going to ordeals. No. Back to Earth? This is a funny one. I'm not sure where JMan is going.
He's just south of Onrak.
Okay, so that, I guess, makes sense. I normally head straight south from where he was to get north, but I guess that makes sense. I'm not the greatest at sea routing.
Join the club. I can never remember which way to go half the time.
Yep. So we're about to see probably, definitely, either the vendor. Well, the vendor item has to. It's the cube. So this is really interesting. LordFizzlebeef would love this.
And I lose again. This is why I don't play the lotto, folks.
Yeah. So Demon Frog is saying no more checks are needed, and I get for JMan, I guess LordFizzlebeef is probably going to want that cube, but. Yeah, like they don't necessarily need the floater. It doesn't really make that much of a difference at this point. They've both leveled up their black belt, so it's fine. They have the access to Topher that they need. So they've got the key and they've got the Macarena. The issue is just how do we light up our boards at this point in time, which for LFB means going to Sky, and for JMan, I honestly still don't know. Do you have a sense for what JMan's going for?
Looking at the current board as it's set up, row 2's possibly still in play because we're still looking for the floater. Column 2 might be in play, except I'm not certain how his stance is on using equipment so far. And that's really about the only things I can see working at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure if JMan has translated the slab or not, because if he did translate the slab, that means he can't do column 2.
As far as I know, the slab is still being used as the anchor on the boat for both players.
Yeah, and to do that, you would need the floater, so... Okay, LFB is about to get his cube. So we're definitely going to see him go to Sky right after this. LFB is going to do a straight line. JMan's got some decision making to do. I missed what that robot item was.
Bavad.
Okay, that's not helpful.
Well, for JMan it is helpful because that pesky column 1, row 4, where he needs to cake the Lich.
Good point. So Danny pointing out in the notes that JMan still needs the Oxyale to kill Kraken, hasn't been to Earth. So that plus the fact that JMan has to quake Lich means that we'll probably see him go straight there now.
Well, I was just about to bring that up, and that's definitely a good point. In a way, the routing might have worked out in his favor for that.
Yeah, so JMan catching a bit of a break as LFB heads down to get some work done in the Sea Shrine. Just has to defeat Kraken 1, looks like.
Yep, that's all I'm seeing required here for. I noticed JMan went ahead and went up to that cave north of the waterfall and put down his riverboat there, so that's a square taken care of for him. This still also opens up the possibility of that top left to bottom right diagonal being in play for him. the Bane, Tiamat, and then 3 robots in Mirage.
Yes, both of those things being in Sky, that looks like a pretty savvy play. Would also let JMan use caster items if desired, and could use Blessed Armor too.
Or at least the neutral armor if you wanted to use that ribbon.
Well, come on, it's a ribbon. We definitely do want that, as LFB heads straight towards the fish.
Yep, JMan, this is an ordeals play.
Okay, so we have not seen ordeals yet. Could be the floater. What else could it be?
Could be the floater, could be the herb, could be the Mazda, and I believe there's at least one dud item in this pool.
Okay, so JMan ducking out of some Medusas, decides to take the Zomble, and wow, that's a lot of damage LFB is doing to Kraken.
Yeah, look, since there's no Bracken the Kraken on this screen, on this board, makes sense to just go ahead and try to punch it down. Although, still a little bit over 300 health, or at least it was.
Yeah, it was probably very close.
Alright, so there's another square in LordFizzlebeef's required line done. He still needs 3 different lizards and Bane the Tiamat. I think he is at 1 lizard at the moment. Did I just see a Bane sword from JMan?
I didn't catch it, but that I guess would be a good and better find for Fizzle than JMan, but there's the floater.
Okay, so at this point, you pretty much have everything you need. He's going to pick up the Oxyel when he goes through Earth to take out Lich with the cake. I believe JMan is basically in go mode at this point because he should have everything else he needs.
Yeah, so JMan's going to do that. LordFizzlebeef is almost certainly going to go straight to Sky after picking up this rod in the waterfall. What do you think LFB is looking for at this point? Because LFB already has everything.
Since he hasn't translated the slab yet, I could see that being a possibility, especially considering that he took 2 black mages strictly for that square there, so makes sense that column 2 would be something he'd go with. And something that might be a little bit telling, he saw the rod and waterfall and immediately reset out.
Yeah, well, I have to think that if I'm LordFizzlebeef, I'm just going to finish my required row, and then that's going to take me to Sky, which will get me column 3. The only reason why I might not want to do column 3 is if I really wanted to use a caster item or a blessed weapon, but LFB doesn't need to do that with that party.
Right. If anything, use only cursed weapons. Just equip a small knife -1 or something on one of your mages. Keep the other one unarmed, and you're not going to put anything on your black belt, and there you go.
So maybe LFB's forgotten that we have Northern Docks and that he can go straight to Sky.
That's entirely possible. That might be something we'll have to ask in the interview after the race. Which reminds me, I should probably note that down just so that way I don't forget later.
Yep, so LordFizzlebeef potentially burning some valuable time as JMan runs through Earth with some promoted light warriors, has now almost all of column 5 completed. Does still need to do column 1. Yeah, I don't like JMan's setup. It's almost like it's one tile away from killing from many of them, which is nice to have all those options, but a little bit lacking in focus here, potentially.
Yeah, agreed. If it's me playing, I want to try to take out my required row as soon as I can, just so that way I know it's done and I'm not forgetting anything important, and then try to focus on whatever row that I'm adding to it. But we'll see how this works out here, because in terms of that, J-Man's still markedly behind.
Yeah, so LordFizzlebeef did get the floater. Probably is going to head straight up to get that airship, as indeed that's the direction that he's chosen. I have to think that he just thinks that he needs the airship to go to Sky and is going to go to Sky next. But I mean, like you were saying before, there's a reason why we're doing the commentating as LFB heads somewhat towards the desert. Oh, has excellent sailing skills.
Yeah, that's one of those. I want to take a look at his screen and make certain he doesn't have some sort of star map sitting in there, because that seemed a little bit too uncanny.
Yeah, so we're gonna... LFB continues to chase items. Maybe wants the power gauntlet. Is that added in here? Let's see.
Nope. He's getting Loop HUD, so he's looking for column 2 as his second.
Okay, so all this time we thought that he would go for column 3, but seems to be going for column 2 instead with the kill 3 different lizards. So we're going to have to find... I know he's killed an Agama, and I have to imagine he's seen an iguana, but I don't know if we've seen any saurias yet.
I haven't seen either the iguana or the sauria yet, so that's probably going to be what takes a little bit.
Yeah, so JMan has lit up the Defeat Lich with Quake tile. Hasn't caught up to that on stream yet, but is firing off a lot of Quakes here, and there we go. Lich takes the cake.
Yeah, he can have his cake, but he's undead. I don't think he can eat it too.
Yeah, well, maybe that might be why Lich refused the cake, as LFB finally heads into Sky. Let's see if he goes for pretty much all the tiles left he's got, other than the lizard one, if that's indeed what he wants. I feel like he could get all 3. He could get Defeat Tiamat with Bane. Oh, I understand now. LFB was obligated to kill the 3 different lizards from the beginning. So since that was the most difficult tile on that line, that's the route that he took.
Yeah, that makes a wicked amount of sense. And we'll find out for certain here if he talks to this robot as he's getting ready to go up the stairs. And okay, strange.
So Golf asking in chat if Cure 4 works for the status ailment tile. I should have to think that it does. Cure 4 does remove most of the negative statuses that the characters have, and it seems like it would count towards curing a status ailment with white magic.
I would defer to one of the tournament organizers for this. My initial thought is no, it doesn't, because Cure 4 is mainly your health restoration. I think it's saying you have to take a spell that you normally wouldn't pick up, like Soft or Pure or Lamp or something to that effect to count.
Okay, so maybe we'll get a ruling on that one later. As JMan heads through C, and LFB seems to be doing making pretty good work of Sky here.
And we're getting clarification in chat that Cure 4 with the status ailment does work, so I'm wrong again. Huzzah!
Well, that is something that we do as we learn. JMan is most of the way through C. LFB is already all the way to Tiamat, and so let's see if we go for Bane, and he does.
Well, that didn't take long.
No, in fact, even as I was saying it, the tile was already lit. So all that LFB needs now is to kill those 3 different lizards, which we think means finding the iguana and the sauria. The saurias are pretty common in ordeals, but that iguana, yeah, I think you were saying around Provoca, that's probably the best place to find it.
Right, and then you still have to worry about the morale being a factor because that black mage is already beefy. The black mages, or black belt is beefy. The black mages are, I believe, around 30-ish or so. So I'm fairly certain that an iguana running away still counts, but still something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I think it does. There are other tiles that have like defeat 3 of a type, and I'm pretty sure that it running away counts as that.
Yeah, Danny's confirming in our chat that yes, that still counts. I guess the easy way to think of it is if all the enemies run, it still shows up as you gained 1 XP. So as long as you get something out of it, it counts.
Right. So LFB is hunting around in the woods looking for that iguana, and JMan is down there looking to defeat Kraken 1. That's easy enough, and also cure a status ailment.
I haven't been keeping as close of an eye on the Red Mage's spell list as I'd like to. So I'd have to see what the Red Mage has to be able... Okay. And as I'm talking, Kraken just immediately vanishes in a plume of tentacles.
Yeah, that'll happen when you've got a level 50 black belt.
Alright, so all that's left for his required row is that status ailment. He's got his secondary row in row 2 taken care of. Fizzlebeef is just looking for that 3 lizards, so at this point, who would you give the advantage to?
Well, simply from the perspective of what's easier to do, I mean, it could take a while to find that lizard, and we haven't seen the iguana either. So, I mean, sorry, the iguana and sauria, that's 2 enemies that Lord Fizzlebeef has to find, versus all JMan has to do is find any white magic spell that the red mage can use. But then the person has to get affected by something. I have to think that JMan's got the edge here. What about you?
I'd be inclined to concur with that, especially given how much hassle Fizzlebeef has been going through so far trying to find one of those other 2 lizard encounters. Part of me almost wants to say, you know what, dinosaurs are considered terrible lizards as well, let them count, but I know that's not how the game works.
Yeah, and with bingo, usually with these kill X different, they have the same artwork, just different palette swaps.
Oh, and here we go, Word Provoker. So this is probably the iguana hunt.
Yeah, and JMan, it looks like may have cured a stun there on one of his black mages.
Are we certain that wasn't just a stun wearing off? I was looking at the upper screen and missed it.
Yeah, Restreamer Demon Frog is pretty confident that it was a cure 4. It looks to me like JMan's stream is paused at the moment, so maybe some technical difficulties as LFB continues to hunt for iguanas.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain iguana is one of the rare tiles in this, so it might take a little bit to come up with.
Yeah, I think you're correct, though with Randomizer, it may shuffle that around. It certainly doesn't look like it's showing up. It seems a little shy, though.
Well, the iguanas probably know what's about to happen to them. I don't blame them for not showing up.
Yeah, I concur with that. So JMan all of a sudden has both of his lines done and is about to enter Topher, has taken the lead away from Lord Fizzlebeef, who seemed to be ahead for most of the time we've been watching.
Yep, and I want to petition the creators of the bingo now to add a new square for future reference. Crash the airship into Topher.
Yes, JMan was giving us a little demonstration of what that looks like as JMan enters Topher at 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 40 seconds.
And meanwhile, the hunt for the lizards continues. At this point, I would almost imagine that J-Man needs to suffer a wipe at one of the gatekeepers for LordFizzlebeef to have a chance.
Yeah, let's hope that we're not doing any commentary cursing here. But JMan continues to play well, checking boxes, the validation boxes. I think is a good play when you know that you're in Topher and that your opponent is not. JMan can see LFB's bingo card and knows that he's in the lead, so it makes sense to open those. Maybe you find a ribbon or something else useful.
Right. I'm not as up on my Topher encounter tables as I should be, but I think LordFizzlebeef is looking for the Soria in one of the Topher floors here, as he just dropped the iguana and immediately made a beeline.
Yeah, you see them a lot on the Earth floor, so I think that this is a good play. LFB is almost certain to run into. It's Agama that he's looking for. So again, those are very common on the carry floor.
I thought he had already done an Agama though.
Me too, but either way, he's got access to it.
Yep. Meanwhile, J-Man is down his life caster, so it's going to be 3-man strats for him here as he takes out the speed bump and moves on to the fire floor.
Yeah, I don't think J-Man's going to be too worried. The black belt is really overpowered, even with this boss scaling. It would take a lot to knock that down.
Yep, and the people more knowledgeable about the encounter tables in chat are proving us to be half correct. Earth floor has the Sorios, so we might see a little bit of walking around here.
Yep, so LFB looking to pick up that Soria on the Earth floor as J-Man continues to Kraken. Kraken usually pretty tough, so let's see if Kraken's got what it takes to knock down that big bad master there.
Well, it depends on if Kraken's deciding to do Kraken things and decides to go right after the squishy no matter where you put him.
Yeah, and speaking of, we're down to just one black mage. Not the end of the world, but it is one less target for that squid to haul off on.
Yeah, this is the point where if you're the type to throw up any sort of offerings to RNGesus, this would be where I would go about it, because one wrong step and you're right back to where you started.
Yep, so J-Man is into Kraken, and we're going to see some tempers and swings. We get some good turn order, but Kraken decides that's enough out of you, Black Mage. Takes the Black Mage out down to the bottom of Davy Jones' locker, and we are going to see if this Master can do it mano a mano with Tiamat and Chaos.
Well, he lucked out and got Tiamat to go after the right person, so Tiamat's capabilities for striking the back row hits again, to absolutely nobody's surprise who's ever played this randomizer.
Oh yes, Kraken likes the mages, as J-Man 2 rounds Tiamat and heads off to Chaos. Chaos could have anywhere from, I think it's 3,000 base HP up to 6,000.
I want to say his base is 2,000, but I don't trust my memory at this point.
Okay, well there's about a combined total of 1,300 already. Here's another up to 2,200. Chaos is hitting back, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough as we get a terminated Chaos. Chaos goes down at 1 hour and 7 minutes. GG's to J-Man, who is the winner of this round of Double Anti-Bingo.
That seemed like an almost anticlimactic Chaos fight, but when you've got a Saitama standing in your front line, that's kind of to be expected.
Yeah, One Man Punch was not sticking around for Chaos's backstory. just decides to go straight for the jugular as LFB continues to struggle against these unrunnable Earths, wasting so much time.
Well, it's just like with the iguana. The Sawyers want to play hide and seek, it seems like.
Yep, so LFB looks like is continuing to see if we can get a finish. As for JMan, let's see if we can get JMan in on the booth. We'll ping him now. Oh, I don't have JMan's Discord ID.
Alright, hang on a second. I'll see what I can do with it.
So I keep looking back to LFB's screen and I keep seeing those Earths. That has got to be frustrating. And using a lot of nuke spells too to get them out of the way as quickly as possible. I guess that doesn't really matter as his black belt hits 42.
It just means that everything's going to drop that much quicker if these Sawyers ever be quiet. Or ever show up, that too. Now, this is just me being a human person behind the faceless voice you're all hearing on stream. But if I'm in Lord Fizzlebeef's position at this point, and these Sawyers are just not showing up at all, by the time I see one, there would be absolutely no prejudice. There would be, okay, we are nuking you back to the Stone Age, and then we will never speak of you again. Because this is starting to get a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, these Gurmedusas just slowing us down.
At least you can run from these Gurmedusas and not the Earth, so that's at least a minor bonus.
Yeah, well, thank heaven for small mercies. We do have JMan here in the broadcast booth. JMan, congratulations and GGs. How do you feel?
I'm still trying to figure out that this did happen, right? Everything was good?
You know, everything seems to be good. I'm not aware of any problems that with your bingo card or anything like that. And it was a great race. We saw you, both you and Fizzle, basically chasing it, looking for the floater, it seemed, for quite a while, although neither of you really needed it. What were you looking for early on that you hoped you would get?
Really, it was a grind tile because of the way that the Blurses worked out for the black belt. He was not going to be as good. I needed to get him up to like 40 before I did the promotion, since I was looking to do that line.
Yeah, we weren't sure if that promote as soon as possible tile was going to come into play, and it ended up being part of your winning row 2. So you got lucky, and I think the grind that you ended up going with was the 3-eye grind. You and Fizzle were both doing that at about the same time in the bottom of Volcano.
Nice. Yeah, it was just one of those, and especially as like trying to figure out, I'm like, do I stop at 35? Do I go to 40? But then I was like, though, there's those Caribs, and if I can't make them run, then I've got to be able to survive it, and then I'm going to have to go punch carry to get out of the building. So I was like, what the heck with it? Let's run at about 42, 45.
Yeah, and it was a good decision. Lord Fizzlebeef got really close with those Caribs on the way out. They held him for quite a while and were dropping fire too, so we started to get worried. You, on the other hand, were able to make it out fairly straightforward and did something pretty risky after that, though, continuing on up to Ice Cave without bringing your mages back up.
I remember it. I was like at 45. I thought, what the heck? I'll make a quick dive. Worst case, I've lost like 2 or 3 minutes of just getting up there. But I was like, let's just sneak up there and see what we can find.
Yeah, well, it definitely worked out for you. I think it was the floater that we found in the ice cave, or was it the cube?
I think it was the cube. Yeah, the floater was found way late.
Right. So by the time you found that cube, did you have a sense for which line you were going to be going for?
Oh yeah, like and especially once I found that eye grind, since I had to do column 1, I had to get the Sahags. I already had 3 of the other 4 spots, required, so to speak. I've already done them, so I was like, well, I'll just grind this way up, and then as soon as I get the floater, I'll just go promote because I'd already had the tail.
Okay, so it worked out well for you as Lord Fizzlebeef basically lost a little bit of time, had been ahead, but basically it's been this lizard that Lord Fizzlebeef can't find at all, and has been in Topher for quite a while looking for the Saurias, and has decided just in frustration to jump back out and to look for them in the overworld.
Yeah, I can't say that I blame him there on that one. And just to clarify, it was the loot that was in Ice Cave.
Ah, yes. You mean the ocarina.
Yeah, I felt a little bit bad because in a couple of my test seeds, the lizard tile was actually surprisingly hard in all of my testing, and then plus having in that row giving him Kraken and Bane. Not that, just more stuff to have to go collect.
Okay, so you had chosen, like you said, defeating 2 of the fiends, which means entering dungeons that require items to get into. So a little bit of clever gamesmanship there. LFB had assigned you column 1. How did you feel when you saw that as your mandatory line?
Well, that all depends on where Quake rolls out in there. And then I'm sure you might have noticed as soon as I finally got to use Cure 4 to cure my stun, I had to go check my notes and make sure that was actually a status I could get credit for curing with Cure 4.
Yeah, we had a bit of a discussion about that in the chat. We weren't sure, but we ended up determining, as you did, that the Cure 4 is a legit way to cure a status. And so that worked out for you.
Yeah, it also worked out since I didn't actually take a white mage that I was able to get Cure 4 on the red.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the choices early on that we were interested in was the wizard staff. LFB had actually sold it almost right away and was able to get an early advantage on you with that extra money, but you kept it. And was that because at that time you weren't sure whether or not you would need it for confusing carry? What was your kind of thought process on that?
I think it was more just keep my options open. That if I sold it, then I've got to go find another one or anything like that. So just making sure that I keep my options open, because I think I saw a couple days ago one of these fights or one of these matches where some decisions made it where it was like literally there was only one line you could do, and it was just a rough line.
Yeah, you definitely did well to keep your options open as long as you did. I was a bit confused. Oh, we've got a Soria. So LFB finds a Soria. Shadow, did you have any questions for JMan here?
Everything that I was going to ask has pretty much already been covered with the thought processes on taking a second row. The wizard staff was another one that I was thinking of asking about. I noticed that you still have used only cursed weapons, used only cursed armor. Did you ever consider losing the cursed armor square if you found, say, a neutral ribbon or what have you?
Ironically, I did find a neutral ribbon, and just to be on the safe side, I didn't equip it because I knew my black belt was at 50. And in my Topher run, I'm sure you all saw my only life casting red wizard got killed off real quick, and that was a real sketchy run the rest of the way down.
Right, I remember pointing that out early on, and by the time you got to Kraken 2, you were down to just your Saitama and a single black mage. So I know I at least was taking mental bets on if the Kraken would just go ahead and target the squishy first. So I can see where that would be a little bit sketchy on your end. So good job pulling through with that.
Oh yeah, hold A and pray works half the time at least.
They say half of this game is 90% mental, the quarter Yogi Berraism.
Oh, that is absolutely for sure.
Right, so LFB is back in Topher and healing up. I think he's at about the Phantom tile, if I'm not mistaken. This shouldn't be too difficult for LFB, although the black belt is not leveled up quite as high as yours was, JMan, and doesn't have a life caster at all, having gone with the nun strats from the very beginning.
Yeah, that was the only one I thought about it, but looking at the lions that took out by not taking a nun, I figured there were still going to be plenty of other options out there for me.
Yeah, so chat is joking that we're going to see the forced Soria tile now as LFB heads to the Earth floor. I have to agree that would be pretty funny and frustrating for LFB, but funny for us.
Yeah, the game does have a nasty sense of humor sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely knows how to get runners riled up. LFP's going to head through this Earth floor, and then I didn't see too much dangerous stuff from the Fiends, but that's probably because they died so quickly to that big black belt. Any skills to be concerned about that either of you noticed?
I know one of my black wizards got taken out by Kraken. I think it was just a really hard punch.
Yeah, he headhunted. Wasn't that right, Shadow?
Yep, he used a homing tentacle right on that remaining black mage and dropped him in one shot.
Yeah, Kraken too, definitely with the prejudice against the back row casters and especially life casters. Man, these Earths just keep showing up. I can't believe how many times we've seen this fight. It's unbelievable.
I know we made a couple of jokes earlier with Zelda-isms because of the Ocarina showing up. I think these Earths are the Final Fantasy equivalent of Navi.
Yes, asking LFB to stop and listen, as in frustration, LFB one-shots Lich and finally gets off this Earth floor.
Yep, and the first thing he sees on the fire floor is a lizard. So, life is not without a sense of irony.
Yep. So let's see what happens to Carrie. I don't think it's going to survive more than one shot from this black belt, especially with the nukes backing it up.
Yeah, that didn't last long.
So healing up on the water floor. I think we have some unrunnable waters potentially on this floor, but other than that, I think it went pretty quick for JMan, as at least this particular grouping is runnable, but we do lose a black mage.
I think they're runnable, they just hit real hard.
I was just about to point out that I noticed that he hadn't healed his black mages, and I was about to wonder if that was going to be a problem, and well, the waters decided they were just going to beat me to it.
Yeah, heal potions are the issue here. The LFB is saving them for the black belt and puts that black mage up in the sacrificial lamb slot and immediately loses it, but that's okay. Will be enough heal pots to get, well, back up to about 75% against Tiamat. That's not going to be an issue. Could end up being a factor against Chaos, though, because we did see that Chaos had a fair bit of HP.
That Chaos did pack some hit points for sure.
Yeah, what was it? 2 rounds? No, 4 rounds, I think, is what you took.
Yeah, I'd go 4 rounds, level 50.
Yeah, and look at this. LFB all the way down to 211. I think only has about 4 heal potions, or maybe none, left. So this does not bode well for LFB.
Yeah, I think he used all of them. So it's basically a, here's your one shot. Let's see what happens.
Well, he's hoping for a crit loop, gets a really nice crit at the beginning, but unfortunately Chaos hits hard. LFB is not going to let that stop him, though, and shows a lot of mental fortitude here and gamely pressing on for the finish.
Well, kudos for him for that. I probably would have thrown out a controller in frustration about 10 minutes and a lot of missed Sorias ago.
Oh, yeah. Me too. But LFB is made of sterner stuff and comes right back in, ice threes down some gas dragons. As long as he can keep his black mages alive until at least Tiamat, I don't think we should have that same problem. But heal potions are an issue here.
Right. If it was me and I was still being stubborn enough to get through this, I would have flown back to Canaria, restocked on my heal pots just to make certain I had enough, and then come back for it. As his black belt now gets back up to that 42 threshold again.
Yeah, so the wolves all running away. They don't want any of this. They know what's waiting for them if they try that fight. LordFizzlebeef is just about to go onto the earth floor.
All right, so I guess the question comes back up. Do we see the Soria tile this time? I say no, because we've been on this floor enough that I think we've seen all the encounters we're going to see on it.
Yeah, I just don't want to see any more Earths. And there they are. There are the Sorias. And LordFizzlebeef takes a good long look. And writes that he hates this game in the race room chat.
All right. I will freely take credit for that particular curse. You can blame me for that one. I fully accept it.
Okay, but look at this, though. Does get through without seeing the Earth fight even once. The nuclear is going to take a fair number of heal pots off the table, but that should definitely help with the heal pot situation, not seeing Earths.
We haven't seen nuclear on any of the other Lich runs, have we?
I think we did see it. I'm not 100% sure of that, but we may have already seen nuclear.
It's 70 heal pots still, so he should be pretty good.
Yeah, great point, JMan. So Phoenix FF29 with the great pun in chat. LFB is awfully sorry at this game now. Yeah, I think he might be, as Carry actually takes out the two black mages. That might not matter. It's basically just less targets for your heal potions at this point.
Right, it's just you have to worry about being able to get away from those large packs like that 8 enemy group that he just got away from.
Yep. Getting pretty decent run luck so far. About halfway through, this is the one you don't want to see. This is the unrunnable water fight. They're going to take a lot of HP away. Even if we can survive, which might be a problem. And it's going to take time. This is not looking good.
Yeah, and there it is. That's one hit too many, and it looks like LordFizzlebeef has decided that he's had enough, and frankly, I don't blame him, as he's thrown in the towel in the race time GG room.
Yeah, so an understandable forfeit, as the game hands us a little bit of sour lemons there. We have invited LFB for an interview, so we'll see if we can get him into the booth and just get some thoughts from him on that as we have finished this round 2 showdown on the Double Anti-Bingo tournament. While we're waiting for him, I just want to give everybody an update that we are continuing with this tournament, and we'll come back to that because I heard the beep. LFB, welcome to the chat. That was some tough luck there towards the end of the seed. How do you feel? Oh, Fizzle, are you with us?
I preemptively muted myself just in case I said things I shouldn't have said. Sometimes when you wake up in the morning and you go visit the Final Fantasy randomizer, it just hates you.
Yeah, well, you definitely caught some nasty luck at a few different points in this seed, and we'll cover that. Obviously, the big thing was looking for the Sorias and just not finding them on that Earth floor. And that was really the thing that took away from your time, because up until that point, pretty much up until you started looking for the lizards, I would say that you were ahead. It was a very close race, but you were both making really great progress, and some of those early decisions you made gave you the edge, LFB. So I guess we'll start with the Caribs, because both you and JMan decided wisely to grind the eye tile in Volcano, but the Caribs almost took you out on your way back out. Were you worried that you might lose your grind there?
Yep. I was 100% worried that I'd lose the grind because, yeah, sure, I kind of have most of the MDef I need to dodge hold, but I don't have quite a safe amount. and then hold stuck, and then forever is I'm just getting plinked away from like fire 2s that are bouncing off black belt MDef, and it's just like I just need him to stand up, and then he can probably maybe run away somehow. I'm just thankful that I got out with levels intact.
Yeah, well, we were worried for you, but you did get out. And again, you and JMan were so neck and neck that you were both making the same decisions at that point around Ice Cave. JMan decided to go straight in without resurrecting Light Warriors, which we thought was a risky play. You did end up lifting yours back up. But then after that, you started looking for items, and we weren't really sure why, because it looked like, well, it was because you were going for column 2. Did you consider going for column 3 instead?
Column 3 was my backup plan if I decided I really needed, for whatever reason, to do something that negated column 2. Be it if I found a really good top level grind, but I needed a lot of magic to do it, I was willing to start using houses. If I found ribbons that were negative, I was willing to dump use only blessed equipment. And then all I have to do is just talk to robots when I'm on my way to kill Tia anyway. It was the backup strategy, but just continuing to not do things seemed like the path of least resistance for that.
Yeah, so you ended up lighting up basically everything except the lizards pretty quickly. You and JMan both did. Let's rewind though for a second and talk about the assigned rows, because you assigned JMan to do column 1, but JMan assigned you row 5. So what was your thinking behind giving that particular line?
I am fully willing to give away my metagame strategy for this. JMan may or may not have tipped his hand in race chat the other night when he said he had bookmarks to where all the encounters are. And I feel like there's a couple different tiles that are really impactful for people in the tournament. There's as we saw last night, there's the find each enemy type. Well, if we've got a list of where all of them are, and let's push that one. Let's undervalue that one for the moment. The other one that I see people trip over all the time is cure something in battle with white magic.
I agree. That one was rough.
And I thought, you know what? All right, so Tia with Bane versus Lich with Quake, those are kind of equivalent difficulty. Yeah, there's a difference of 1 key item, but whatever. And then basically we're looking at kill 3 lizards versus cure something with white magic. Again, it's like, if he knows where all the lizards are, let's try the cure with white magic thing, because that's kind of harder to wrap your mind around sometimes.
Well, I think you did choose well, because we did hear from JMan that he wasn't 100% sure when he went to go use that Cure 4 on Stun, I think it was, if that was going to work out. So definitely giving us a little bit of the metagame. I really appreciate that, LordFizzlebeef, because at least speaking for myself, I'm completely lost with this bingo stuff. How about you, Shadowed?
Yeah, I barely have enough trouble getting through regular randomizer. You add bingo onto it, and I'm completely lost.
Right. So we definitely we learned a few things, didn't we? Did you have any other questions for Fizzle there, Shadowed?
Actually, yes, I do. I want to ask about a routing thing that we noticed. In looking to go up to Mirage, we noticed that you waited until you had the floater to go up there with the airship. Was it a conscious choice, or was it a possible slip of the mind that the northern docks were on and you could have just boated right to the desert?
So because I was still heavily committed to row 2, I just had it in my mind that floater was required. So, like, because I have to get to Lefane, and I can only get to Lefane with the airship. In hindsight, that was probably when I should have dumped column 2 for column 3. But at the same time, I had just seen, like, as I was sailing kind of in that direction, I had just seen that my opponent had lit up promote as soon as possible. And I'm just like, okay, this was a coin flip on whether or not it was Sky or Ordeals. This makes me think 99% that it's in Ordeals. So my required floater is there. Let's just go get it.
All right, that makes sense.
Because being able to see the board in somewhat real time, it does change some of your stuff on the fly as you see your opponents lighten up
Right, because when we were looking at that here in the booth, we were trying to figure out if it was just forgetting that the Northern Docks were on. I thought I'd seen you go up to on-rack with the Northern Docks on, and
I did.
Yeah, and I thought it was just a little bit of a slip up, but that was just something I was curious about, just to see if there was some sort of ulterior motive, big brain play that I was missing.
It was a small brain play, but at the time, it felt like the thing I had to do.
All right, well, that's the only pressing question I had there, Rock Solid. So, if you want to go ahead and start taking us some final thoughts before we pay the bills and give the upcoming schedule to sign us out, go right ahead.
Sounds good. Sounds good, Shadow. So yeah, we'll give the first word to you, JMan. Any final thoughts?
Well, thank you guys for running all this stuff and entertaining the people. I'm still shocked that I'm in the upper bracket at this point, but I'll take it every chance I get.
Yeah, well, with play like today, you're definitely earning your spot. So how about you, Fizzle? Any final thoughts?
I'm gonna stab the first lizard I see.
Yeah, watch out. Watch out, lizards. Okay, good stuff. All right, so we're going to go around the horn then. I want to just basically shout out our crew here, as we've got some links there in chat. So today's race crew, we had on tracking, we had Danny3883, and on Restream, and also in the chat room, we had Demon Frog. My co-commentator here is Shadowed Flames, and my name's RockSolid84. Also want to give a shout out to our hosts, Randomania. We couldn't do this show without the stage, so to speak. So that's really great that they've been able to graciously let us have their audience for this time. So yeah, Shadowed, I think you mentioned the schedule updates.
Right. If you enjoyed what you just saw over the last couple of hours and want to see a little bit more double anti-bingo action, 7 p.m. tonight, Eastern Standard Time on RPG Limit Break, we have another round 2 matchup as Burt Reynolds squares off against a Hangry Canuck. There are a few matches still being scheduled for the week. As we get those scheduled, we will be posting them in Final Fantasy Randomizer Discord, and as we get any additional information, we'll put it at the end of our current broadcast so everyone can keep up to date. If you're looking for usual weekly races, those are temporarily on hold because of the double anti-bingo, but just stay tuned. They'll be back soon enough, and we'll be able to get back to racing with the community like we've always done. As for final thoughts on this end, I also want to extend thanks to Danny for doing the tracking. She's still the one that I look up to when it comes to tracking, so being able to work with her is always fun and a privilege. Thanks to Demon Frog for the restreaming, because without him, well, we wouldn't have anything to watch. And thanks for Rock Solid for keeping me straight and making certain that I don't put everyone to sleep.
Okay, well, I think we all had fun, and we had no trouble staying awake for this one, Shadowed. So that's going to do it from us here. If you liked the show, make sure you check out the Discord and the Randomizer at FinalFantasyRandomizer.com. Then that's going to do it for us. I'm RockSolid84. We'll see you at 7 o'clock on RPG Limit Break for the next race. And until then, keep your head up, everybody, and don't forget to go fast.